Bum 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 bum.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the One Kwacha podcast. My name is Kandwani and today I have my lovely guest. I'll let her introduce herself.
I'm Hannah.
Hannah who?
Hannah, like last name?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Hannah G.
Just like the letter G?
Like the letter, it's like G-E-E, but like lots of people say ghee, like the Indian butter thing.
Does that irritate you?
Yeah, because that's spelled with an H.
I know. I apologize on behalf of everyone who has called you Hannah G.
It's fine. I don't take it personally.
What does it mean? G.
G? I have no idea. I think it's the Irish way of spelling what my Chinese ancestors' last name was. Like, they came over on a boat or whatever, and were like, last name, and then they said their last name, and the Irish guy taking down the name was like, all right, G-E-E, because if you Google it, G-E-E is an Irish name. And I'm not Irish.
Oh. What are you?
I'm half Chinese and half white Canadian, but if you go back, it was German and British.
Okay. I mean, what is... Okay, everyone's a mix, basically, because I'm technically a mix. It's not real, but it's just, like, different tribes and stuff, so... I don't know anyone who would brag about... Real. No, I mean, composition. If someone sees me, I'm black. No one's gonna be like, oh, she's half and half of something. Yeah. So, there's that. Anyway, so, I don't know if you saw this in the news. The Ethiopian Airlines crash. Yeah, that was... terrible. 157 people. So
that was the entire plane, right?
Yes, the entire plane. So we just want thoughts and prayers, our condolences to all of the people who lost loved ones. That's a route I might have taken, so it's pretty close to home because they were flying from Amsterdam to Nairobi, and I've had many a layover in that direction. I can't possibly imagine being on a plane that's about... I don't know.
I don't want to think about it.
I know.
That's a lot.
I'm just thinking, what happened? Like, I can't even articulate it. What it feels like to know you're like serious trouble. Like, there's turbulence, and I'm like gripping the armrests. But anyway, thoughts and prayers to the people who lost their loved ones. But yeah, I mean, that's life. You could be the most careful person, and something could happen to you on the road, but it's really unfortunate when something like that happens.
I mean, compared to like the number of flights that happen every day, it's a very small number, but it's also very big because like that was everyone on the plane. So one crash took out over 150 people, and now and their families too. So it affects everyone. Right?
Did you see the article about the guy who missed the flight?
I didn't see the article, but I heard about him.
I don't know. He's grateful to be alive, but it just was like he was rubbing. I don't know. I felt some kind of ways about it, but I know he's happy to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, but I know someone whose relative was supposed to be in one of the towers when 9/11 was happening. Yeah, and so like her mother, I think it was her mother. I don't know. It's like a family friend, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think her mother was like on a cruise when it happened, and so she heard that this tower got hit and that tons of people had died, and she couldn't get a hold of her daughter, and so she like convinced herself that her daughter had died. But her daughter was like either sick at home or like had gone back for something or something like that, and so her daughter actually had lived, but it was one of those, there were a few people I think who were like that too, where it was just like any other day and I would have died, but it was just like randomly, I guess, my lucky day.
Wow. Anyway. Well, I did have someone for the blessing of the week. I mean, but this for me is just like a reason for us to never take people for granted in our lives. Yeah. So just appreciate the people you have. You never know what could happen. So there are all these families so desperate for an update on whether their family member survived or not. So it's just like when people are around, give them their flowers. Let them know you love them.
And cherish everyone who you have in your life.
Anyway, it was just so hard and heavy. Yeah. But the blessing of the week is a lady. She's called Muzalema Mwanza. Yeah, Muzalema Mwanza. So she's the founder of Safe Motherhood Alliance. They're a Zambia-based social enterprise that developed low-cost disposable baby delivery kits. So there's apparently a program called Pitch at the Palace. I guess the Palace, the Royals in England. Yeah.
Oh, in the Royals in England.
Yeah. So she went there and she won the Pitch at the Palace 2019. So she said she was inspired by her own experience when she was, I think, about to give birth, and she went to the hospital and they told her that she actually had to bring in some of her own kids because that's how terrible.
What? So you like bedding or like
I'll just
blankets?
Yeah, pretty much. It was like so each kit includes, oh my goodness. Each kit includes basic items like a scalpel, sanitary pads, a hygienic sheet, cotton swabs, requirements needed for would-be mothers. So she had to go and provide those own things, but now she has a social enterprise that I guess sells them for really cheap to expectant mothers. So I think that's pretty good. I mean, if you go through something and you find that you could help someone else do it. I mean, most of us just solve our own problems, but no one's really thinking of the next person who's coming after you who need that. So I think it's pretty impressive. There were 17 entrepreneurs and she won. So that's pretty cool.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And I mean, it takes like a certain, I guess, person who goes through something like that and is like, oh, there's an opportunity for change here.
Wow. Well,
kudos to her.
Yes, we clap for her.
Little claps.
What do you want us to talk about today?
I don't know. We were very underprepared. I was thinking, so like, I literally was on the bus and I was like, okay, we could go with like the original idea. But that takes a little bit more preparation.
Of course.
And then I was also like, religion and like mental health are two topics that are interesting.
Okay.
So I don't know.
We could talk about religion.
You want to talk about religion?
Yeah.
Because I don't have a religion.
That's totally okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. So I'm also, I wouldn't say I don't have a religion, but okay, for you, did you grow up without a religion and then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've never grown up. My parents are both like atheists.
Okay.
My dad has like the strongest opinions.
Okay.
My mom is like a little bit more spiritual, but,
right.
So I grew up in a household we didn't go to church. The only time I did was like my mom was in a community choir, and so sometimes she would perform at like people's like Christmas mass. Like her community choir would come into like some church, and so I'd go in to see her. I am in a choir, and it's also a community choir.
Okay, and you sing at churches then?
We do sing at churches, and we do sing some like probably depends on the concert, but like we sing a bunch of sacred music as well. So I sing a lot about God and Jesus.
Are you profiting off of religion?
No. So the choir that I'm in right now is, I don't know. We get some kind of funding from I don't know, someone in Canada. I don't know like all the particulars of it.
Yeah, there's usually patrons who support the arts. And
but I think it might be like a government arts grant or something like that. I'm not sure. And so like, I'd say like for our Christmas concert, there was more sacred music. But then for some of the other ones, there's more secular music.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's interesting. So you grew up without religion, and I grew up going to church nearly every Sunday. It's hard to not be resentful when you're young and you have to wake up every Saturday and go to something. And even coming here, something I've found for most people who share their experiences, the world today is still, I'd say, predominantly Christian or Muslim, but a lot more people are atheist. And a reason that I've heard many people cite their departure from Christianity is just really the resentment of going to this sort of institution like every Sunday, and then of course you hear all of these stories. Like just recently there was this priest who he got 6 years in Australia.
I saw that
case. So there's like all of these things that people hear about, and then they leave the church. But I think it's also interesting that you just didn't grow up going to church, I guess. So you've always been atheist, whereas I grew up going to church. I don't go as regularly anymore because of various reasons. The weekend's just so limited. When you work 2 jobs, you just want to take Sunday off. But share what that's like for you. So do you believe in heaven or hell?
No, and this is actually like a big problem for me because I hate uncertainty, and I'm like, it's still young enough that I'm like terrified of death and not knowing what comes after that. Because if you like ask my dad, he's like, "There's just nothing after," and I'm like, "What is nothing like?" And a lot of people will be like, "Well, do you remember what it was like before you were born?" And I'm like, no. But then I have like an existential crisis about like, what am I even living for if there's nothing afterwards? Yeah. And like, I just get down this rabbit hole of uncertainty and like worry. And for me, I also like, I'm kind of that person where I'm like, there has to be something. Yeah. Like I can't imagine there being nothing there, but I don't know what I believe in, so I would categorize myself more as like agnostic than an atheist, even though I know agnostics get like a lot of hate for being like wishy-washy and non-committal, but like
please decide, you can't have both. I get that. So any aspect of spirituality, I know, be it horoscopes or fortune tellers, any of that?
I think horoscopes are fun. I don't know if I like 100% believe in them, but I think they're fun. And I do think that there is more to like the human brain than we understand and know, like 100%, but I don't know like how much more.
That's for example. That's true.
But like, you believe in heaven and hell, or do you like what type of Christian?
Okay, so there's different kinds. My mom's family is predominantly Catholic, but she was like this rebel, and so I guess the thing is Pentecostal, or now it's more of non-denominational. So it's a bit different because I did go to a Catholic boarding school, and so the Catholics is pretty like old school. So there's still a lot of I don't want to say rituals, but it's just like set ways. So you go for mass, you stand, you sit, you kneel, you stand. And I mean, it works for some people. My parents are these like devout Catholics, and they just love it. They go for mass every day. Every day. Yes, every single day.
That is commitment.
And I think mass is either at 7, and so they're up early and they make it to mass. And if anything goes wrong, it's like, oh, you didn't go for mass, kind of thing. Yeah. So,
I mean, it gives you schedule.
No, for sure. I mean, when you're older and retired, I mean, something gives you purpose. But for them, for as long as I remember, their house was actually just across from the church. So, like, my grandparents and church are just, like, two things I can't separate from each other. So that is pretty interesting. Yeah, so it's like I did have some Catholic and some Pentecostal, but you do grow up and there's, like, right or wrong, and it's just like this fear in your mind. And for some people, it's like, are you motivated by the fear of going to hell, or are you just committing to this because
I take issue with that?
Yeah, so there is that. So for the longest time, maybe I was influenced by my fear of not going to hell, but right now I'm not as religious as I was, I'd say, because when you start reading into history, Christianity has been misused by people. So I have an issue with that. Yeah.
So I'm currently taking a First Nations Studies / Gender and Women's Studies class.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about, because it's like there's no prerequisites for it. So we did talk a bit about the history of stuff. And if you look at like colonialism.
Yeah, exactly.
And where Christianity was spread, it was literally always like a tool for the colonizers, and then they brought that to wherever they were colonizing. And so it's like and a lot of people are trying to break out of they're trying to decolonize their lives and like that kind of stuff. And so it's like, where do you do you want to go back to your like maybe more traditional religion that was there before Christianity?
That's something I've considered, but I mean, the people who are now just so suspicious of it because, of course, Christianity.
That was because of Christianity.
Exactly. So they came in, and everything else is now pagan and wrong. But the interesting
like
thing,
voodoo and like that kind of stuff.
But the thing is, my grandparents and most older Africans are Christian, but there are times when people do resort to African traditional medicine for things. So it's kind of like people like one leg here, one leg there, because it was just so fascinating. I had when my great grandfather was ill, but I remember they would something like traditional medicine was like still used, even though they're like devout Catholics. So it's like the reconciliation of the two. But I have a renewed interest in African religion because we did take religious education in my high school, and we would always look at the different religions, which I thought was great that we were given a rounded view of like religion. So we would look at African religion, Hinduism, Islam, which was really good. But I'm more interested now into finding out more about African religion because it wasn't all bad. And like for you, I would say maybe agnostic or maybe I'm monotheistic, whatever it is. I do know that there is a God, but
you're not sure like where you fall on like, the spectrum of
but maybe a God who looks like me. Because, you know, sometimes like it's interesting that people place so much faith in a religion that excluded us at one point.
Yeah.
So why would you do that?
Yeah. I was reading because I was talking to something happened. Anyway, I was talking to Mubanga about this.
Yeah.
And he was, because I was like, oh, what type of Christian is your family? And he wasn't like 100% sure on all of it.
Yeah.
And so I was looking it up, and I found out like a lot of the churches in Zambia there's a certain word for it, but it's like it's Christian, but they bring in some traditional African spiritual stuff so that like people, I don't know if it's like necessarily your church, but there are some churches like that, and that makes sense to me.
I guess some do that, but like Rura did say how she's Catholic, but their church did. It's common in a lot of the churches to sing songs in a local languages and things of that sort, and you have drums and things of that sort. So I don't really think it's bringing in, I guess, maybe there are some, but for most, African songs are sung in like the local language of drums, just like the way of worship. Because even here, there's a joke. You'd go to like maybe like white church and it's just like Hillsong. Yeah, exactly. But if you go to like another African church, it's like a bit more lively and people are dancing and clapping and all of that.
I've seen some people's Snapchats.
Exactly.
So it's just, I'm like, wow, that seems like fun.
Exactly. It's more different. So, I mean, it takes a while to get used to it, but it's great that you did bring up colonialism, like First Nations, because there's this memory that's stuck in my mind that I share with a lot of people when I can. There was a time probably 2 years ago, but I know at the time there had been a couple of shootings in the States. It was still like fresh in my mind. So we're at church. This is an evening service, and then while the preacher was up there preaching, this First Nations guy stood up. Because I think the preacher was probably talking about family or something. I think it was around Christmas or Thanksgiving. And he's like, oh, so in the name of Jesus, you came and you took away our land and like raped my mother and grandmother.
Oh,
and everyone in the church was just like, oh my goodness, what do we do? And then I had a friend who had come over with her friend and he was laughing. But I was just like so traumatized because in my mind, I'm like, is this where I die? Because I was pretty close to the guy. And I'm like, if someone... Because I could...
The guy who's laughing?
No, I was next to the guy who was laughing, but I was also next to the guy who stood up. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, if this guy is mad, is he going to pull out a gun and just like shoot all of us?
Oh, yeah. You automatically go to
Yeah, that's where my mind was. But then part of me just felt this immense sadness because I could tell where he was coming from. And this is a story that many people don't like to talk about or address, but it's true and it happened that people lost their lives.
In some ways, it's still like, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's still something that is happening.
No, of course. And like now it just manifests in a different way where they have lower literacy rates and high mortality rates, the drugs that are rampant in the first. So it's like all of those effects carried through and the society is still suffering from all of that. Yeah. Because I have my best friend's cousin worked with like the I don't know if there was a truth council.
Truth and reconciliation.
Yes, she worked with that, and she was just sharing us a bit more about that. And it was just so heartbreaking because she's like, everyone who worked there had to get therapy after because it just takes an immense toll on you hearing some of the stories that people had to share about how they were taken away to camps because the process of that was trying to erase their culture and make them forget themselves.
Cultural genocide.
Exactly. And you take them away to these schools. It was just so much. So hearing all of that, that's why I now have, I'd say, a healthy skepticism for Christianity. I'm not saying it's
really
perfect.
Hard.
Yeah, but that's a struggle that I've been going through personally. So
yeah, that and like, I mean, a lot of that stuff continued with like the foster program, like foster care program. So like you put people in this situation with residential schools, and that was it, breaks the bond between family members, right? And so then those people who go through residential schools, I'm not saying always, but it's understandable that people would have issues with developing and maintaining like healthy relationships with people after that, and they're also like extremely marginalized and that kind of thing. And so in the foster system, I don't know if it's still like this, but I know that it was for a very long time. No matter what the reason for like why you can't take care of your children, they'll still take them away.
Oh no.
And so there are people who are doing their best to make ends meet and take care of their children, but maybe they're just not quite cutting it. And so then the government will come in and take the children away. Instead of like providing support to keep families together, they'll just split them up. Wow. And so it's like, you stopped having residential schools, but you're still going in and taking children from families who maybe love and care about each other, but can't make ends meet for whatever societal reasons that that you've been a part of. And so that's really hard. I mean, and still people don't have their lands that they should. And the Canadian government sent police in recently.
I saw that. Were they protesting the pipeline?
Yeah, they were protesting because they want to build a pipeline in, and then people were protesting on the land that should be theirs.
Yeah, technically.
And then the police went in to like break it up because they took issue with it or so it's like a lot. And so like a lot of people feel like the government said a lot of stuff, and like there was people really worked hard on the Truth and Reconciliation thing, but there's still stuff that's happening. So like what are you can't do one thing and then not.
Well, I just remember being so overwhelmed because eventually the preacher was nice, but you could just see how
hard,
how disassociated everyone else. Like some people got it, but I feel not a lot of people take it seriously. But I was just so I cried actually because at first I went from being scared to just relating to his pain, and I'm just like, that is so relatable because that happened. And I always say, I guess in Zambia, when you think about it in the grand scheme of things with the fight for freedom, people didn't die terribly, but we still pay the price for colonialism. I mean, there's still lots of people who suffer basically and can barely get ahead, and we have all these politicians and greed. It just, it had these lasting impacts, and I don't know how long it would take for us to get to a place where we're stable as a country. And look at like that lady, that's what it really is like. You go to a hospital and you have to bring your own things to deliver your kid basically. I hope we can get to a point where we're a nation that uses our resources wisely, and we have these leaders who care about people, but colonialism left these countries robbed of their resources, and we're still fairly young, and we didn't have people who are really equipped to run countries. And that still happens.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. So,
because you can't, like, you just, all of a sudden, everything pulls out, and then what are you going to
do? So, anyway, religion. It's so hard to get sidetracked. Tangents. Okay, so, if you didn't go to church every Sunday, what were you doing on Sunday?
Soccer. I played soccer. Girls' soccer games are on Sundays.
Okay.
So, the boys' soccer games are on Saturdays, and the girls' ones are on Sundays, and I played soccer.
And what do your Sundays typically look like now?
Oh, now? I just relax and do homework, basically. Actually, I live in a neighborhood where there are 6 places of worship within about a 1-block radius of my house.
Okay.
I have
Christian?
3 across the street from me.
Oh.
Another one down the block one way, another one down the block the other way, and one across the street from the church that's across the street from me. They're not all Christian.
Okay.
4 of them are, but there used to be a Hindu temple, but it got turned into something else that I think is now Christian. And then there's a mosque down the street, but they're still building it.
Okay.
So we moved there, and my mom literally turned to me one day and was like, Hannah, I think God is trying to tell us something. Like, here, all of these religions, pick one. So, but, I don't have a religion. And I actually tried to find something. Like, I'm not sure Catholicism is the right path for me. I tend to not like people who like blind faith and hard and fast authority. Yeah. Just who I am as a person doesn't really vibe with that. I like to ask a lot more questions. Okay. And I have a lot of friends who went through like Catholic school and now are not Catholic, like tons.
So you said that. Do you think most Christians have this blind faith where they do not ask questions?
No, but the people that I know that went through Catholic school and are still Catholic, some of them do. And I feel like I've been to a few masses and I had this vibe that they really wanted me to 100% believe every word that they were saying. Okay. And I don't know if I'd ever be able to get to the place from where I am now and how I was raised. Yeah. Where I do believe everything that they're saying. And there's like no room for anything else kind of thing.
That's totally fair. I mean, a lot of it has to do with how you're raised. There are people who convert, and I'd say, to be honest, they tend to be more fervent because it's like, who knows what they went through, and then they've found the salvation in a religion, be it they're going through a tough time and it works for them. But for people,
that's beautiful. Like,
it really is beautiful. Like, but then there's people like me or lots of other people who grew up in different religions who just because you grew up in it, you're not as devout as you should be, just because that's all you've known your whole life, pretty much, which is interesting. But I always was fascinated by how you denounce, let's say, a religion, and then the new religion saves you. So what happened? You see how tricky it is, right? Because the one religion would tell you like, oh no, you're a sinner because you've left, but then so which religion is stronger than which religion? Just that kind of thing. Because everyone thinks they've got it right and disregards everyone else, and it's like, oh, poor them, they're so lost.
They're lost. I hope God.
I'm going to heaven. They're probably not. But for me, another reason why, anyway, it's not like I have all these reasons racked up. Like, for me, I'd say spirituality is very important. And for me, it's personal. For the longest time, because, sometimes church is a performance. It's more performative, if anything. Because for us, I'll speak for myself. Church was also just this social kind of place where you do go to church to see these people you go to church with, and after church. And there are some people who'd even take attendance of people like, oh, I didn't see you at church. Is everything okay? My brother is in China, and the African community there is fairly large, and a lot of them are Christian and meet at church. And it got to a point where he's in med school, but was spending nearly 4 days at church in all of these different groups, and because he plays an instrument, and then he's in the choir. And my mom's just like, dude, you don't have to go every time. Like, God still loves you. But that's the thing. Some people will guilt trip him because it's like you miss one day of church and people are like, oh, are you backsliding? Is everything okay? No, you have to. So there's a guilt.
There's supposed to be like, isn't there like supposed to be a relationship between you and God?
It should be personal.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a good person and you're doing your best, and like, I mean, I think hopefully God would want you to like do well in school. And so if you're trying hard to still, connect with him and everything like that, but then you're like, you need to take a day off because you have an exam coming up.
No, of course.
Well, I don't know how that...
There is, when Jesus did come in the New Testament, there are these Pharisees. So it's normal, and Jesus did condemn it to these people who do it for performance, where you do all of these things. In the end of the day, it's what's in your heart and the personal relationship you have with God. It shouldn't really be for the display of other people. Right. And this has now led us to this situation where we're in, where there's so many of these crazy pastors. I'm not sure if you've heard any of the stories.
I think I've seen...
The most recent one is the guy who resurrected someone from the dead.
And I saw that video. I saw that video.
And it's just crazy.
I was like, wait, what is happening?
So there really are a lot more of those kind of preachers now, where it's really sensationalized, and a lot of them live all of these lavish lives, and it's like,
look at an interview with someone, and he had like chains on chains, and it's like his watch covered in diamonds, and I'm like, what is your congregation? doing? Like, do you just live in a really rich area and you all happen to be super rich?
They have this congregation who scrape their money to give offerings because they're told if you give money, then it will be returned to you tenfold and whatever, and you're just funding someone's lifestyle, basically. It's not for me to judge these preachers, but it's like the message also gets lost and convoluted when we now have all of these people who are like prosperity preachers, and it's like people are so desperate to be wealthy because, I mean, it's Africa and life is tough. So people diligently believe if I work hard, if I make this huge sacrifice, it's a display of the faith that I have in God. And if I give every single last penny that I have, I'm trusting him and it's going to come back to me, which is not the best way to be.
Yeah, I mean, if these preachers genuinely 100% are doing what's best for their congregation and they need money, then, I mean, like, you know, but I really... And I have never, in any situation where this happens, you know, I really hate it when people prey on desperate people.
No.
Or vulnerable populations. You know, like those people who even call people and try to get them to like give them their credit card information. Yeah. And it works for like seniors because they don't always know any better.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of stuff.
Well, there are people who just
really
made a market out of it, and the churches are huge and they bring in $1 million amounts in revenue just from
Do they genuinely believe that this is going to come back and help their congregation?
I have no idea.
Or do they...
These preachers have private jets and like fleets of cars, so when you look at what the average congregation member has and what the preacher has, it just makes me think, like, my favorite quote, or where some of my radical thoughts started, was either an econ class or, you know, this was probably still in high school, where Karl Marx, it was from a religious studies.
Oh, Marx?
Yeah, where he had this thing where it's like religion is the opium of the people. So there's some people, and where these people are just, because, you know, it's that sort of this promise, because it's like the most religious people are found in Africa. Think about it. We were colonized with this message. I just want to say, like, maybe the white people came and gave you this religion and look at where you are. And the same white people who gave you this religion have denounced it. I mean, look at how predominantly atheist North America, Western America is. So it's like we're just still holding on to these... I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's just like people really like to believe that are okay with believing that if we suffer now, there's a greater good or there's a greater life ahead of me. So like you said, there's this idea of the afterlife, and you become okay with suffering when it doesn't have to be that way. So it's the opium of the people in that it lets the people forget their misfortunes now because they really and truly do believe that they will have this afterlife where they are just suffering through this and they will be rewarded with a good life afterwards. And that's not the case.
Yeah. And then it's benefiting other people.
Yeah, exactly. It's benefiting other people. So them being okay with suffering benefits other people. So I'm not saying that there is no promised afterlife. I'm just like, you don't have to use religion solely for that. Because
you have a good, you know, try to have a good life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, my problem with, so like you said, the people are vulnerable and being preyed on by these prosperity preachers. But it's also the people who choose to place their bets, I guess, in just praying and miracles instead of working hard. I mean, it's not that clear cut.
I have nothing against praying for it, but I think there are times when maybe you should do your best to try to deal with the situation as well. You know, just in case God is really busy.
God is under busy.
God, I mean, he's got like what? How many billion people?
No, I know he's looking out for everyone, but there's also like a Bible verse that says, "Faith without works is dead." So you are supposed to walk the talk.
You can't just sit there and pray. You have to try to do things. You know what's best for you. You know, the one thing that I do, you know, I don't want to just like turn this into like religion sucks. The one thing that I do appreciate about religion, and that I kind of, other than the security of knowing what comes afterwards, is the sense of like community that people have from it. Like it can really bring people together and bring them comfort, especially when times are, you know, hard. And I understand why that's like a huge part
for sure
of it and why it's so important to some people.
So for me, I'm not also here to just bash church.
No.
One thing I really enjoy is the fellowship. So if you do meet with people who are like-minded, there are several times when I've gone to church and just someone praying for me just gave me that lift that I needed, because, you know, there's someone out there who cares for you. So like you said, there's fellowship, you go meet people who are like-minded. So there's two sides to it. There's the side where you could go to church just to see and be seen, but then you could also go for the fellowship and meet with people who think, you don't only want to be with people who think like you, but people who are of the same mind, and people
you go
who
see
just,
like your people,
share the same values, and just to have that person looking out for you. Because even for me, it's not that someone is taking attendance, or people are just like, oh, we haven't seen you in a while, is everything okay? How's life? Do you need something? So people have always been very helpful in that context, and I'm very grateful for relationships from church, but I don't want it to feel like I have to go. Like there's this obligation where I have to go. And my brother now is kind of okay with it, so he's probably at church 2 times a week. So
see, balance in life.
Balance, exactly. It's very, very important. Do you celebrate Christmas then?
So we do because Christmas is not all about Christ anymore. and I just think it's fun to like have this time of year where you're like, I don't know, it just feels cozy to me, and like I get presents, I give presents. My family is really into like trying to make each other be happy, and so we try to spend more time together around Christmas. We try to like bake things together, and you know, putting up the tree together is like a big thing.
So Christmas,
but we don't like go to
about
mass.
Family.
Yeah, Christmas is about family to me.
Okay.
And not about mass or anything like that. Okay. Really.
No, Christmas for me is just about the birth of Christ. I mean, so that's why for me, the gift giving, and then because I'm away from my family, I don't really have that pressure, because I work in retail too, and Christmas is just this nightmare where like shopping, it just means long hours. But for some people, it's nice, the gift giving aspect of it. Then there's also those people who you see who are just like pressured to buy the Christmas gifts. Where, it's just
we don't go that hard.
Yeah, exactly. So it goes both ways for people. So that's why for me, Christmas isn't that big. But I was fortunate enough I have family in Seattle, so I do go see them. It's a much bigger thing. And I finally got the joy of presents, because most of my cousins are much younger, and just seeing the sheer joy in their faces, I'm like, oh, this is exciting. So it's about family. Okay, what about Easter? What is Easter to you?
Oh, the Easter Bunny.
The Easter Bunny.
Yeah. Actually, so even when I was a child, my dad used to make little maps for us. For the Easter Bunny, obviously, because the Easter Bunny comes and puts little chocolates and little presents around the house. The little presents mean like a pair of socks that have bunnies on them or something like that. So he'd like draw a map, and then we'd like wake up and like look outside our doors, and outside our doors would be like a map in like an envelope or something like that. And then I would, open it, and my sister and I would like go do like a little scavenger hunt around the house. And that was what we did on Easter. So Easter is that and extra rest, because I get 2 holidays.
Oh, nice.
In one.
Nice. So what does Easter have to do with bunnies? Like, how did that come about?
I have no idea. Should I Google
it? Google.
I have no idea what the Easter Bunny...
I mean, Easter is a great holiday for us too, but I had Easter holiday most of the time when I was in high school, and that just meant mass for like 4 days straight.
No, that's not fun. See, you had mass for 4 days, and I lay at home and ate chocolate for 4 days.
I mean, it was okay. Thinking back, I mean, you're on holidays, so you have to wake up early, but you're still lounging for most of it. And on public holidays, we got special food, so I do have fond memories of Easter. But Easter is, for me, Easter is always more reflective, where you are grateful for Christ dying for us. I mean, the story of Christ dying is a really good savior story, and I do have a personal relationship with Christ. He is my savior. I still don't know about Christ being a white man, but okay.
I went to a church in Italy, and
they had black Jesus.
He was dark brown. I don't know what his features were, not like black, but he was definitely not white. And
he didn't have
like,
blue eyes?
No, he didn't. And I was like, what are you doing here? Because like most of the other Jesuses in all the Italian churches are all white guys.
He was Jewish. not many Jewish people with blonde hair and blue eyes. So.
No, even like pale Jesus with brown hair and brown eyes is still probably paler than Jesus really was. The Easter Bunny thing. Yeah. So no one really knows, but they think that it might have come from pagan tradition because there was a festival at about the same time.
Yeah.
It looks like it's said the same way as Easter. A goddess of fertility whose animal symbol was a bunny. And then eggs are also representative of new life.
Yeah, spring and all that.
So it's believed that decorating eggs for Easter dates back to the 13th century. And hundreds of years ago, churches had their congregations abstain from eggs during Lent, allowing them to be consumed again on Easter. This is a Time article. So,
have any Christians made you feel bad about being an atheist?
No. There are some people who try to they don't push it on me because I try not to hang out with really pushy people. But they'll try to educate me about what they believe in or whatever, and I actually really appreciate that because I like learning more about what people's beliefs are, especially since I have no idea what my own are. But
I think it's cool that you kind of get to figure it out for yourself.
I'm just very confused.
No, I mean, at least you're confused, but for me, it's that point. I'm grateful. I mean, I have no regrets about how I grew up, but it's also just, it's so hard to be objective when you grew up doing something for most of your life. So, I don't know. It took me, I've met so many different people, and I'm a lot more open-minded and can have conversations with people, but there are people back home who would hear me having this conversation and be like, why didn't you minister to her? And you see some of these things like that, or where, no, that person's Muslim, you can't be friends with them. But I
have to say, the best way to convince someone or change someone's mind or open their mind is to just have a conversation on equal footing with them. Because there have been some people who have tried to push it on me, but they're not friends of mine. And if you try to push it on me, I'm immediately gonna defensively put up walls and not let anything or my instinct is gonna be to do that, and I have to try to fight against that. But it's a little bit too, I don't know if preachy is the right word to use.
I mean, that's totally accurate.
Pushy,
But for me, my thing has always with everything, because I'd say for us in Zambia, people tend to pick and choose when to
enforce a lot of people do that.
Religion. Because recently there's this guy who, I'm not sure if he's queer or gay out there, but he was in this TV show, and lots of people were upset and called for the show to be canceled, and it actually was canceled because they're like, oh, we're a Christian nation, we can't have all of this propaganda.
Is it illegal to be gay
in technically,
Zambia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but he, the show was canceled and all of that, but it's pretty interesting that people bring up the Christian nation card when it comes to homosexuality, but you could have people in the church fornicating and committing adultery and being drunkards, but no one says anything about that. So it's this whole pick and choose nature of it. But for me, the best example is from Jesus himself, who wine and dined with so-called sinners and prostitutes and the lesser of society. So that's the approach that I've chosen to take, because I really can't judge anyone, and I should love everyone, pretty much, and that's my philosophy. At least that's how I'm choosing to live my life. So I hope everyone could see that. I mean, I'm not enforcing my beliefs on people, but for me, I feel that's what true Christianity should be like, where you do embrace everyone. When you do start to feel better than people, or feel you are capable of judging people, that rubs me off the wrong way too.
I think as long as you try to be the best person you can be,
of course,
and do good wherever you can, and
I've met atheists who are nicer than some Christians. So for me, as long as you go through life with a mutual respect for people and you don't harm anyone, I can't hate you. I'd
be on board for that religion. saying, if you decide you want to start up something,
because wars have been fought in the name of religion, and people's lives were lost because of that. So it's really just like, when we should be able to step back and see when it's being used as a tool to control masses of people. That's my only problem with it.
Yeah. So no, I agree with you.
That's my problem. So I'd say I have a problem with organized religion, but each person should feel free to walk through life and find a path that works best for them. So Hannah, I hope you can get over your existential crisis. I don't know what lies beyond death, to be honest. I'm somewhat spiritual like you. I don't think death just ends there. My mom tells me she's gonna come back when she does.
Or is she gonna come back and like find you?
No, not in a creepy way, but it's just kind of like, you know, those people who are just like, you dream of someone, or if you just like still talk to them and ask for advice or something, and you get a feeling. I don't know, because lots of African traditional religion, it was about this reverence for ancestors. So they go before us and they like watch over you, and they watch over the family.
That's
and
comforting.
Things. Yeah, exactly. So I have, to be honest, I have no problem with that.
Yeah. I think that would be, I don't know, think about that for a little while.
Yeah. So there are times when I do maybe just not like talk to my dead grandma, but I'm just like, you know, I miss her and I appreciate the life that she lived. I'm grateful for every lesson that she taught me, and I'm like, if you're listening, I hope you're fine, and I love you and miss you. It's just,
that's
I
lovely.
do that. Yeah. But
I talk to God every once in a while.
Yeah.
Just in case. Because I'm like, I don't know what I believe in. I'm having a really hard time. So if you're up there, just like give me a shout out or something. Actually, my cousin got baptized and I was there as a baby because we were like 3 weeks apart.
Yeah.
And the priest said he'd put in a good word for me.
That's good.
So I've got that going.
Christian by association.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. I guess God knows my name and you know, knows that I'm not completely a lost cause.
He knows your name and has a plan for you. But
I hope
I don't know. Yeah. Well, do you have any last words of wisdom?
Of wisdom?
Yeah, that's just like the segment where we sum it up. So be it religion or anything. I know this was really fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed myself. I'm like, we could just keep doing this.
I know, but the people say it's too long. So.
We can do. I'll just come back. That's what I'll have to do.
Of course. Thank you for that. I'm glad I don't have to ask you or chase you down. So you're committing to a second episode?
Oh, I'm committed. Okay. You just, send me a message on WhatsApp.
Okay.
And I'll fit you into my schedule.
Oh, wow. I'll get in touch with your assistant to pencil me in.
Yeah. So. She has all of the contact information.
Nice.
So.
Last words.
Just do your best and try to be good and do good where you can.
That's true. I guess my last words are, it's personal at the end of the day. So it shouldn't be influenced by other people. Whatever decision you choose to take in life, be it religion or anything else, just always make sure you stay true to you and stay true to what you believe. And like Hannah said, we need a lot more good people. I think people forget that.
Yeah. But you're the one who has to live with your decision and your path in life. So just
do good, people. Do good. But this was Kandwani and
Hannah
signing off. Goodbye.
Bum, 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 bum.